You okay? Welcome to London.
Hi guys, this is Zahid here from Abbey Property in Luton, and just giving you a quick Q&A again today. Going to keep it nice, short and snappy. If you're looking at this video afterwards, for example on YouTube, check out the timestamp below to go directly to the question that you want to deal with. So let's hit it off. We've been getting asked a lot of questions throughout the week. Just made a note of a few of them just to see all the regularly asked questions, frequently asked questions. So let's hit it off. One of the questions that I've been asked is, what do I need to do in order to sell my property? How do I get the process started? Very simple, straightforward. Get an agent to come out and value the property for yourself, and make sure the value that you're given is the right value. So how do I make sure that happens, and what's the sort of the way around that is, with the value that your agent gives on your property, what you want to do is you want to find out the evidence related to that property. So for example, you want to get comparables. Let's say you're selling a 3-bedroom semi-detached. You want to find out which other 3-bedroom semi-detached have sold in your area, maybe quarter mile, half a mile radius, roughly around that area, or even preferably on the road, which gives you a lot more better indication of how much the property should be valued at. And then what you want to do is want to find out exactly when those properties have been selling. So for example, if something's been sold on your road 6, 7, 8 years ago, it's not really going to give the best indication as to what your property should be valued at. If something sold a year back, it'll give you a lot more better perspective in terms of what your property should be valued at. What you also want to find out from your agent is what they realistically feel that the property should be advertised at. Sometimes, and it happens, it's human nature, some agents get, in terms of valuing the property, they tend to overvalue the property simply just to win your instruction. The problem is with that is you as a consumer, you as a seller are short-handed with that, because let's say your typical value of a property is 300 and you decide to advertise for 330, simply being because the agent decided to value at that. It's going to stick on the market for a long time, and the problem with that is it will take you a lot longer to sell, plus your property won't be as attractive anymore after a month, 2, 3 months of being on the market for a long time, because it makes people question why such a property has been on the market for a while. So whereas you could have possibly gotten 300, you may end up getting 295 or even 290 because it's not as attractive anymore. Properties tend to get snapped up very fast. So you want to make sure it's on for the right price, so you get the right price for your property as well. If your property is obviously undervalued, you naturally lose money on your property. So you want to make sure, again, with the comparables, get a crisp idea of exactly how much it should be valued at, simply by understanding how much it's been sold in the past. You could look at how much current properties are advertised for. The only reason why that's not a good indication is because, let's say for example, you've advertised for 300 and your neighbor wants to advertise it as 310, 320, 330, and prices tend to inflate like that, and they're not really good representation. Sold prices are always the best to look for when you do that. Another question I get asked frequently is, how long does it take to sell a property? So that's entirely depending on the price as well as the condition of the property, and like I mentioned, plus the condition of the market at the time as well. More often than not, it's always related to the price of the property. So you want to make sure you hit the nail on the head right from the beginning. Typically, your property should sell within a week, 2 or maximum 3 weeks. Sometimes latest 4 weeks. The reason why I say that is because as long as the property is priced correctly, it will definitely sell within that period of time, as long as the property is marketed correctly as well. So that's something that's really, really important. You don't want to be sticking around on the market for a long time. Right. So after that process has been done, it tends to take about 3 to 4 months for the property to complete. So after the buyer essentially has been found, that's the process it sort of takes from there, getting all the surveys done, the mortgage, instructing solicitors, etc., everything right through to exchange, completion, etc. And also during that process, it depends on the complexity of the sale as well. So at times you will have, you're involved in a chain So what a chain essentially is, a couple of people, one's buying this property, he's buying that property, he's buying that property. So if this sale here falls through, the whole chain naturally falls through as well. So if you're in a chain, it might be a bit more complicated because sorry, you're waiting for this sale to sort of progress, you're waiting for that second sale, third sale, fourth sale, and you might be fifth in the chain to sort of progress. So keep that in mind. The chain does affect how long it takes you to sell the property. If it's chain free, let's say for example it's the first time buyer buying your property directly without having to sell anything beforehand because they're living in a rented accommodation right now, simple, straightforward. Also it depends on the mortgages also. You know, your mortgage etc might expire for the person who's buying it, or if you're in the buying position, you know, just keep an eye on your mortgage etc, make sure it's not expire, and if it does expire you want to be able to get an extension or renewal on that comfortably at the same time as well. Whereas if it's cash purchase, it can tend to go a lot more quicker because there's no mortgage involved, and it speeds up the process significantly as well. Also it depends on your solicitor, who you've got involved as a solicitor. So this, I would say, is one of the most important parts when it comes to selling a property. You want to go with a solicitor that is very, very good at what they do and is reputable. And I would recommend that you go with a recommendation as well. So either ask your agent for a recommendation or ask friends and family, someone who's dealt with a solicitor in the past. Very, very important. I can't emphasize it enough. A lot of the times sales fall through simply because of that. Just want to make sure you get the right person through. In terms of when do I need to instruct a solicitor? Instructing a solicitor you want to do as early as possible, you know, right from the beginning. As soon as you instruct your agent to advertise your property, you want to get a solicitor done, you know, straight away from there as well. Make sure that it speeds up the process. So as soon as you found a buyer, bang, you can instruct the solicitor straight away from there onwards to get the process, get the ball rolling from there. So that's the best practice. Your agent will obviously send off the memorandum of sale, property particulars, etc., everything to your solicitor, plus the buyer's solicitor and anyone else that might be in the chain. So what that involves is all the chain details, the buyer's details, the seller's details, whoever's acting as a solicitor for the buyer and the seller at the same time as well. Once the property, obviously we're keeping this very brief, we're not going into too much detail, just for the time's sake, but later on towards the end of the property you will exchange. Exchange essentially is, it's a binding contract that the seller or the buyer is not going to pull out. That just gives you assurance that the sale will essentially go through, and that's it. And the reason a lot of people like to do an exchange and a completion separately is because once you've done an exchange, you know it's definitely happening, 100% going through, and you can say to your solicitor, depending on if you're the buyer or the seller, usually the seller can say to the solicitor that I want to give at least 2 weeks, you know, gap in between the exchange and the completion, because it might give them the chance to finalize the rental they're going into, or to move out, or if they're moving out of the country, or even to move into a different accommodation, whatever. It gives them a bit of time to move their stuff out comfortably. A lot of times people will exchange and complete on the same day. If the property's empty, that's perfect, but a lot of the people who are living inside it, and they will tend to want to have a bit of time, at least a week or 2 weeks gap in between. Sometimes if someone might need even a month just to be able to secure another property for themselves, or you know, it all depends on the situation that you sort of tend to have. Final question, just trying to keep this Q&As as simple as and easy as possible. Do I have to use an estate agent to sell my property? Totally depends on yourself, depends on what the situation is, depends what you're trying to achieve. If you're selling to your neighbor, for example, everything's fine, you agreed your price, everything, you know, stuff like that. Just simply get your solicitors, etc., everything involved. Selling to a family member, selling to a friend, etc., just simply get your solicitor involved. But if you're looking to find a buyer, definitely want to, you know, get a professional involved, an expert involved. Reason being is because just like selling a high-end car, you want to get a trader involved, just to making sure you're getting the right price, making sure you're, you know, marketed to the right people. Like for example, like a car trader will have, you know, details about all the people that may have inquired, a little while back, a month, 2 months back, looking for, you know, a car, for example. It's just something simple, you know, similar like that. This is a very high-end asset that you're selling. So let's say you realistically, your value of the property is 300. If you don't get an expert involved, may not happen, but more than likely will happen. You might end up selling for 280, 290, whatever. You're losing a lot of money. So just a simple, if you're looking to sort of save, that's definitely another reason you want to head down that. You want to get involved in an expert, etc. And that's about it. If you've got any questions, I'll wait for like a couple of seconds to see if any questions come through. If not, I hope this was nice, short and snappy for you today. Right, great. We'll leave it at that. No questions. If you've got anything else, just drop me an email, zahid@abbeyproperty.com or info@abbeyproperty.com, and I'll be able to answer your questions next week. Thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Check the timestamp if you want to see anything, any other questions that you want to have a look at. Sorry, I think we've got a question come through. Let's just hold on for a minute. That's great. I don't think we've got a question come through. Hamira, if you've got a question, please do type it in and let us know. That's great. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, like I mentioned, just drop me an email directly and I'll be able to help out. Next week, again, I'm here Friday at 6 o'clock every week to answer any questions that you guys have property related. Thank you and bye for now.